All right, so I'm gonna continue where I left off. Excuse me. The last two things I got to talk about is the switch statement and the conditional operator. I'm gonna talk about the conditional operator first. That's something I use all the time. It's actually really useful. Let me hop over here. Okay, so this is the syntax for it. I'll just read these slides and then I'll do a demonstration. So the conditional operator evaluates to one of two expressions based on a Boolean condition. The syntax is you have the condition, and then you have expression 1 or expression 2. If the condition is true, expression 1 is evaluated. If it's false, expression 2 is evaluated. The value of the entire conditional operator is the value of the selected expression. So, like what they mean there is that this line here has a value. So you can assign what's highlighted to a variable, okay? But depending on what values stored to that variable would be whatever expression 1 or expression 2 has in it, okay? Every programming language, typically, I don't know about C++ if they have this. It does? Okay. Yeah. The conditional operator is similar to an if-else statement, except that the expression returns a value. So here's an example. They have larger, and it's equal to, if you evaluate this condition, if number 1 is greater than number 2, then num1 would be stored into larger. If this is false, then num2 would be stored into larger. And it just explained that on the line below. The conditional operator is ternary because it requires 3 operands. And let's see, another example is they have a system out print line. Your change is, and then they print out the count, and then they use, is count equal to 1, they're going to say dime instead of dimes, right? Like that's how I use it a lot, is depending on our language, right? We either have to say one thing or another. If something's singular, like we'll say dime instead of dimes. So here they're telling you if count equals 1, then dime is printed. If count is anything other than 1, then dimes is printed. Okay, so here's a quick check. They want you to rewrite this so that it's done like within one line, or like maybe smaller, like you don't have to use this if. What you can do, what they're doing is, if value is less than or equal to 10, they're saying that it is not greater than 10. And if this is false, they're saying it's greater than 10. So what you could probably do is I would just like break that string right there and then slap in the conditional operator for the not. And that's what I would do. Let's see what they did. Yeah, they did the exact same thing. Right, they only printed not if this was true or nothing if it wasn't true. Okay, that's it. Let me do an example of this. It's actually really useful. So I'm going to save this. Under simple demos, and I'll just call this one conditional operator. Example. I'm going to save the name of this file. Save this file. All right. Okay, so I'm going to say public class. Actually, I'm going to use the scanner. Wait, I didn't even spell public. I spelled something else. All right. I'm going to say import. Dang it. Import java.util.scanner, and then create my class. So public class, name of my class, open class, and I'm going to put in the main method, public static void main, a string array, arguments. I'm going to use a scanner, so I'm going to say scanner scan is equal to new scanner. It's going to listen to my keyboard, which is system in, and I can do the example that they did with the dimes or something. Yeah, I'll just say int count. Dang, what the heck? Count. It was equal to, actually not equal to anything. All right, so I'm going to prompt the user. Let's say it's like, how many dimes do you have? But You're gonna give me a value, and then I should probably just change this to something more meaningful, like num of dimes. All right, and then I'll just scan the next integer into that variable, and then I can do something like system out print line. Actually, I could probably use a string format. Yeah, I'll make it like super complicated since we're the advanced class, right? So string format, you have %d, and for now I'm gonna put dimes, okay? And I'll go back and I'll correct it. And I'm gonna put num of dimes. All right, so I'm using the string format to like format this string that I wanna output, right? So I'm gonna just put whatever the number of dimes that they actually have. So I'm gonna hop over here and change directory. Actually, I have to do the other slash. Change directory to, oh dang, I gotta go keep going up. So demo, excuse me, that's Java. Yeah, so I should be able to type Java 2. Okay, and from here, I'll type Java C, the name of my thing. I thought I copied the name of my class. So the name of my class is Conditional Operator Example. Dang it, doesn't compile. And because I put lowercase s right here. All right, I'm gonna clear my screen, compile. Wait, I'm trying to look for the run command and I didn't even type it. All right, so I run. How many dimes do you have? I'll put 8. You have 8 dimes, right? That makes sense. But then when I put 1, right, like the grammar doesn't make sense. You have 1 dimes, right? So now if I wanted to output dime instead of dimes, I have several options here, right? So I can just print out the full word, or I can just maybe decide if I just want to put the S on it or not. Okay. Just
%s and add is s if is greater than 1.
okay. So, well, do you want to print like do you want to do something where we put the whole dimes, or just put the %s? So %s is where I'm going to inject my string.
There you go.
Right. So I'm going to put a %s on dime, right? Meaning I may or may not include an s, right?
The number of times conditional has to be
Right. So then,
greater than 1 to add.
or actually not 1, because it could be negative, right? Well, I mean, I guess negative won't make sense for
Well,
a value of something you can hold.
okay.
But anything that is not 1, you wouldn't, like you would say dimes, plural, right? Like you have 0 dimes, right? You have -1 dimes, but you wouldn't say you have 1 dimes, right? You would just say you have 1 dime. So the condition, so the way this string format works is I'm gonna put this start on a new line right here. Where the %s is at, I'm gonna have to make a variable right here where my cursor's at to be injected where this %s is at. I have to put a string there to be injected. I'm gonna use the parentheses. I feel better when I use parentheses. I don't think you actually have to, but I'm gonna say, okay, well, if the number of dimes is equal to 1, then if that's true, so the true condition will go after your question mark, then I want to output the string nothing, right? An empty string, and then the colon would be the false condition, meaning if number of dimes does not equal 1, the false condition would be to insert an s, right? Wherever your wherever that's at. Okay, so I'm gonna hop over here and clear my screen, compile, and run. And this time when I say 1, you have 1 dime. And when I put in any other number besides 1, like a -1,000, you have -1,000 dimes. If I put a 0, you have 0 dimes. If I put in a 2, you have 2 dimes. The only time that it's going to say dime is if I run this and just put in a 1. Okay, I actually use this a lot, and yeah, it's just the way I think of it is just like a quick function method that returns a value. Like if it's only one Boolean check, that you just check it and then return the value. Now you can, like, there's no limit on how deep you can nest this. So like, just for some reason, if, let's just say we want to say you have odd, even, or zero number of dimes for some reason, okay? Let's say that's what we actually want to tell them. That's an additional string that we want to print out. I'm going to say you have %s number of dimes. Now, since I'm only using one, right, one place to inject a variable, like you only need one value after this, inside of this format, right here. And this is where I'm going to put in my conditional operator. So in this case, I'm going to say, let's see, I'm going to take my number of dimes, and I'm going to divide it by, actually, I'm going to check to see if it's 0. So I'm going to check to see if it's 0. If it is 0, if it's true, I'm going to say you have 0 number of dimes, okay? And the false condition for now, I'm just going to just type in, like, I don't know, question, because I'll come back and inject something else right there. So I'm going to come over here, clear my screen, compile, and run. So now when I type in 0, you have 0 dimes, and then here I say you have 0 number of dimes. Okay, I would either say 0, odd, or even. That's what I'm going to do when I go back to my program. But if I were to run this program and type in an even number, it just says called question marks, right? If I were to run my program and type in an odd number, it says the same thing, all question marks. And that's because this condition wasn't true, so this is what was printed out. Okay, now what I'm going to do is what I have highlighted, I'm just going to throw in those parentheses right there and then make another condition. I'll say num of dimes divided by 2 is equal to 0. Then I know that's even, so I can say if that's true, even, and the false would be odd. Okay, so yeah, so like I have like a conditional operator nested inside of a conditional operator, right? There's no limit to this. You can keep going forever and ever and ever, as long as like your computer can compile your Java code. I've never actually tested how deep I can go doing this, but I assume it's for infinity, or not infinity, nothing for infinity, but I mean, assume it's just as long as your file isn't so big to where your computer doesn't have the resources to compile and run that program. So I'm going to compile this program and run it again. I'm typing a 0. You have 0 dimes. Line under that is you have 0 number of dimes. I'm going to run this now. I'm going to type in an odd number like 37, and you have odd number of dimes. I'm going to run this again, and I will type in an even number like 100. You have even number of dimes, right? Those are the only 3 options on that line now. Either 0, odd, or even, right? You could keep going. I could make another condition right there if I wanted to, conditional operator, or right there, do some other check. But then like maybe it gets kind of a little difficult to read. So maybe in that case, at some point it's better to use like an if else to print some of this stuff out. But you can keep nesting inside of those conditional operators. Any questions on that? All right, cool. All right, so next thing to talk about is the switch. Most programming languages have a switch. Actually, Kotlin doesn't have a switch. I'm using Kotlin now because it's the recommended language for Android programming. And it doesn't have a switch. It has a win, which acts like a switch. I'm gonna go ahead and read these slides. Read these slides, and I'm gonna do an example, and then I'll talk about static methods. Okay, so let's see the switch statement. The switch statement provides another way to decide which statement is to be executed next. The switch statement evaluates an expression, then attempts to match the result to one of several possible cases. Each case contains a value and a list of statements. The flow of control transfers to the statement associated with the first case value that matches. So here's the example of the syntax. You have some expression you can evaluate, and then you have the values that you want to check against. The only check you can do in a switch is equality. You can't do like a less than or greater than. It's just straight equality. We often put a break statement once we're done with a case so that we can exit out of the switch. If you do not use a break statement, then you'll be like, whenever it finds a true case, it's going to just keep executing everything after that. And I'll do an example of that. And then here they're giving like some option thing, and you can have a default section, right? And the default would be executed if nothing else above matched. Okay, so switches.
So it does not evaluate the next case.
It will evaluate, like it evaluates all the cases once it finds a true case. If you don't have a break there, it's going to just what we call fail through, which is going to execute every statement, every case after that, including the default, right? But if you have a break, then you exit the switch. I'll demonstrate how that works. But if you don't match any of the cases above, then you're going to execute the default if you put a default inside of your switch.
Right, so let's say you have case 1, 2, 3, 4, and your option is 3.
Okay.
So it does not go to 1 or 2 because your dip goes to 3.
Right.
It does not have a break, so it's going to evaluate 4 or it's going to execute 4.
It's going to, it will not evaluate for, it's going to execute for. So whatever the statements that you have there.
In other words, break is not optional.
Yeah, break is optional. If you don't break, like that might be behavior that you want for some reason. Then you wouldn't put a break. Where like if 3 is true, you execute something specifically for 3, and then whatever below it case is, you'll execute those statements as well.
Okay, so the next question is, if you want to evaluate 1, 2, 3 to 7,
Okay.
how do you do that?
Oh, 3, 2, like so. You can't, like, there's no range. You can't specify a range in a switch. So you would have to just put those exact values in for each case. So you have to put like a 3, a 4, a 5, a 6, a 7. Right. So in fact, it says right here, a switch in Java, but I think it's like this for all the other languages. You can only evaluate an integer, a Boolean value, and a string in characters. And they just added string like in Java 8, I think. Or maybe Java 7, I can't remember, but in Java, you weren't always allowed to put a string inside of enumeration. Okay. All right, so let me do an example. This is the most interesting one. I mean, I actually use this whenever I have like a menu type selection that I'm trying to do. So the drawback of the switch case is it only does equality. It doesn't check for less than or greater than, right? So like on the if statements, we can do all of that stuff. But for a switch, we can't. So I'm going to hop over here and make this new, save as, and I'm going to call this one switch demo. And I'm going to save this as a Java file. Okay, so I'm going to say import. Oops, misspelled that. Dang, still misspelled it. Import java.util.scanner. And public static void main string array arguments. Okay, I have a scanner. Wait, I'm missing the name of my class. Dang, what the heck? Public class, name of my class. And tab this in. All right. So inside of my main method, my scanner scan is equal to new scanner. Okay. And let's see what I want to do. I'm gonna have like a char for like the user's option. Okay. And I'll just save it like that. And I'll make a do while loop. Say do. Actually, I'm going to do wrong. Do, and then I'm going to say while option does not equal queue. I'm going to ask the user, like, enter a queue to quit. So I'm going, like if he enters a Q, then he's going to quit the program. And then down here, I'll just say like, this is my print line. Program is over. So we know like that we made it to the end of the program. All right, so in my do loop, I'm going to say, I'm going to print out a menu. All right, this is just a simple menu. Let's see, what do I want to do? I'll make it like a, like have some dashes above and below, and then here, I'll have all the different options that we can do. So one of them, which is probably gonna be the last one, is enter a Q to quit. Okay. Semicolon. All right. So we'll just make it to where, oh, the one I always do is like, like a role-playing game where you come across an enemy and then I'll say enter an A to attack, enter a M to use magic, enter R to run. Yeah, and then Q would be like quit game or end game, so quit game. All right, so we have 4 options here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scan the user's input from a line. So I'm going to say, I'm going to do kind of quirky. I'm going to say option, which is a char, is equal to scan dot next line char at. Actually, let me trim it. Trim, and then actually 2 uppercase. If I do 2 uppercase, I don't have to evaluate the lowercase and the uppercase letters. So I'll just say 2 uppercase, and I'll say char at 0, the very first char. So they can enter run or attack, and I'm just going to grab the very first character of the word. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a switch to determine what needs to be done. Okay, so I'm going to evaluate the option, open close curly braces, and case, and I'll have the case for A to attack, and then I'll execute some statement right here. Okay, here I'll just say you chose to attack. All right, and I'm not going to use a break, so you can kind of see what that looks like. And the next one would be M. I should probably just copy all of this. Okay, we have an M, we have a R, a Q, and then we're going to have a default. All right, so M, I'm going to say you chose to use magic. For R, I'll say you chose to run away. And then Q would be to quit the game. Game over. And then I'm going to have a default case. The default will execute if none of the above match. So I'll say default. And let's just say like not a valid option. Actually, I'll do something like a little more clever. I guess I'll just here, I'll use the string.format, string format, and I'll say %s. Actually, it's not %s. I don't know what a C is, or char is. C, right? So I'm going to inject the option they entered there is not a valid option. I have no idea what it is. I'll find out though. Once, if this fails, then I know it wasn't C. All right, so I'm going to inject the option right there. So I have this program ready to go, and I'm going to clear my screen. I'm going to compile. I forgot what I named this. What did I name it? Switch demo. Compiles and switch. I'm going to run it. All right, so there's my menu. Okay. Maybe I shouldn't put the A there. That's kind of bothering me, right? Enter, and I'll just enter a. Yeah, I don't know. Let me fix that really quick. Okay, so let me delete this lowercase a from all the menu options. Save that. And I'm going to use Control-C to stop the program, compile, and run. All right, here we go. So enter A to attack, enter M to use magic, enter R to run, and Q to quit. So I'm going to go ahead and use Q just to make sure I can break out of that loop. Okay, and I enter Q, it said game over, but it also said Q is not a valid option, right? And then program's over. Program is over. Okay, so what happened was Q was true here, it executed the statement, but the switch has what they call fail through, meaning it's going to execute any statement past that. Okay, so it's not going to reevaluate, it's just going to execute those statements. So the kind of the quirky thing with this too is like, just say you declared like some variable here, int x is 9, but then you'd use the same variable here, int x is 7. Java's not going to compile because it's going to see this being declared twice, right? Whereas an if and an else, those variables were local to those curly braces, right? Well, we could do that, but in a switch, it knows like, well, you can go to every single statement, so you can't actually declare, you can't have the same variable declared twice. So if I come over here, let me clear my screen and try to compile, it's going to complain, right? Or it's already defined. So the switch, like all these statements are open to each other. Does that make sense? So they can see each other's data, I guess, or they may see each other's data depending on what order this is executed. All right, so anyways, let me compile and run and approve the whole fell through. I'm gonna enter A to attack, and you chose to attack, you chose to use magic, you chose to run away, game over, A is not a valid option, and it continued, right? Asking me again, enter M, it skipped the attack part, right? You chose to use magic, you chose to run away. So it's like, as soon as it matches, it just falls through, executes everything after. So if you don't want that behavior, then what you have to do is use the break. You don't have to use the break on the default since it's the last statement. In fact, I wonder what happened if I put a break there. I'm not even, let's see if it even compiles. Let me do Control-C to stop. Clear. Okay, it does compile, but it just doesn't make sense to have a break there because that's where you end anyway, right? So, okay, so I'm gonna come over here and run, and now when I enter A to attack, it just says you chose to attack. Okay, if I enter M for magic, you chose to use magic. R to run, you chose to run away, and then I'll enter an invalid value, like a T, right? T is not a valid option, and finally enter in a Q to quit, and then the game is over. All right, pretty simple. It's actually really useful, I think, when you're dealing with menus. Now, sometimes you have submenus. If you have a submenu, then you're going to come over here, you're going to prompt them, use a scanner. Like, things can get like really, really ugly, right? So this is where I recommend using static methods to handle submenus. So let's just say if they chose to attack, they need to choose if they want to use a sword, or I don't know, what else can you, like maybe their fist, or maybe like they have a boomerang or something else besides the sword, so they can choose the weapon they want to attack with. And same thing for magic, like you can choose like the spell that you want to cast. But you can, the best thing to do instead of coming here and like making another scanner and like making the menu, making a while loop, locking them in there, because that's what you're going to have to do is lock them into another loop until they enter a correct option. Like you say something like enter an S to use your sword, enter a B to use your boomerang, or B to go back to the previous menu, right? Like those are the three options that you'll probably see. You could do all that here, right? Write all the statements, or simpler thing to do would be to say, let's see, handle, maybe not handle, we'll just say show attack menu. Okay, now we have to come over here, and inside of our class, we're going to make another public static. Now the reason, so a static method, does anybody know what a static means for a method? Like Java 1 students, you guys should know. What does static mean? Right, if you call it through the class, you don't need an instance. Yeah, you don't need an instance of an object to call that method. So if I didn't declare it as static, that means I would have to create an object of the switch demo class to use that show menu method, right? But if I make it static, that means I can just call it through the class name. And since I'm already in the class, I don't actually have to use the class name to call this method, okay? So I'm gonna say public static void, and then show thing. I thought I copied show attack menu. Let me just copy it really quick. Control C, Control V, open close parentheses, and now I'm in this method. Now, I don't have a scanner object here, so I guess I should probably create another one, or maybe make this one global. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what to do. Probably maybe make it global is what I think the better option would be. But for now, I'm just gonna make a local scanner inside of this method, and I can name it scan just like the other one, doesn't matter, because this is a different method. It doesn't know anything about the other scan from the main method. Okay, so here what I'm gonna do is I'm also gonna have an integer called option.
So if you make that scanner public, would that be able to be read from here?
So if I declare that scanner, I'll show you, I'll demo it local first, and then I'll go ahead and move it out outside of the main method. You can see it declared at the class level. And then like everything would be able to see that one, be able to use that one object. So what I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna do another do while because I wanna like keep the user inside of here. So I'm gonna say, okay, well, while option does not equal, and I'm gonna say B because I'm gonna tell them like, oh, go back, you know, if they needed to go back, okay. Or actually, or I'm, and, no, or, wait, I'm gonna think about this. So confusing. Because I do want to go back, even if I hit attack, right? Because you're gonna attack and then you're gonna go back to the other menu, right? Like the enemy is gonna have a turn. Like I'm overthinking this right now, but you know what? Let's just keep it for B for now. But like, just keep in mind that you're gonna want to go back after you swing your sword, right? Anyway, so I'm gonna come over here. I'm gonna have kind of the same menu. I'm not gonna retype all this stuff again. I'm just gonna copy and paste. So I'm gonna grab what I did here, and I'm gonna paste it in this do, and then maybe like right here in the middle, I'll just, actually, I don't have to do that. What am I doing? I'll just say like attack menu. So we know that this is the attack menu. Okay, and I'm gonna say enter an S to attack with your sword. And dang, I'm gonna use B for boomerang and back. What the heck? Yeah. Oh, dang it. Okay, I'm gonna say enter B to attack with your boomerang. Is that the way you spell it? Rang? Boomerang. And then the quit option. It's not really a quit option because they're not going to quit the game. They're going to go back to the previous screen. Dang.
It could be R to return to the previous menu.
Oh yeah, there you go. R, thank you. So enter R to return to the previous menu, or the main menu. How about that? Because we know the menu above is the main menu. All right, and then you're gonna have a switch case here to do all of this stuff. I'm just gonna copy what I did because I'm super lazy, and just copy that and then slap it in right here. Okay, but I have different options though. So for an S, then here I'll say you attacked with your sword. And then here would be you attacked with your boomerang. This would be option B. And then the R would be, option R. Returning to main menu. Right? I mean, you don't actually have to say that, but in this case, I'll just say it so that we know that we landed there on that option. And the default would still be like whatever is not a valid option. So the only way to get out of this menu right now is to enter in B, right? So what's going to happen is when you go to show attack menu, you're going to be stuck in that method until you enter a B to go back. Okay? So what I'm going to do now is clear my screen. Actually, there's one more thing I wanted to do. I wanted to label this menu because I had the other one labeled. It just seemed like the right thing to do. All right, so I'm going to compile. Dang it, what the heck? Option might not have been initialized. Oh, dang, duh. I'm not scanning. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna copy my scan right here. So what happened was I declared option, but I never actually set it anywhere because I forgot to prompt it. I forgot to read the user's input in my attack menu screen.
And then you also need to change the return option for the to break out of the loop. The while statement
Should be R.
should be R.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Okay, I didn't even see that. Okay, thanks. All right, so I'm gonna clear my screen, compile, it compiles, and run. All right, so now I'm gonna enter A to attack. I should be popped into that attack menu screen. And, okay, you chose to attack. Now it says attack menu, enter S to attack with your sword, right? And I'm still stuck in the attack menu, right? So I just keep hitting this guy with my sword, right? And then finally I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go back to the previous menu. I'm gonna hit R. And now I'm back to the previous menu, and that didn't work. What the heck? Returning to main menu. And the switch option does not equal R. What the heck? Int option. Oh, what the heck? I declared it as an int. I'm sorry. That should be a char. So it's reading the integer value of R, which is like the value of where it occurs in the Unicode character set because I declared it. So and char can be an int, an int can be a char. It's just gonna map those values based on the position in the Unicode character set. So let me try that one more time. All right, gonna run, I'm gonna attack with my sword, I'm gonna attack with my boomerang, and then I'm gonna hit R to return the previous menu, and it still didn't work. What the heck?
Oh, type A.
I typed,
Yeah, just A.
A. Yeah, no.
So it didn't go back.
Hold on. Let me see what I did wrong. All right, let me clear my screen. Did I compile? I did compile. And I'm just going to follow these steps once. Okay. I hit A and I hit R. R should take me back. Oh, I probably didn't compile. I don't know. All right. That's probably, I thought I recompiled, but maybe I didn't. I don't know. All right. So let me attack again. I'm going to try to reproduce those steps. Use my sword, use my boomerang, hit R2. Oh, like it's like stuck. Like I hit R once, it doesn't go out.
You're back at the main.
Yeah, we had it.
I did hit it twice though. What the heck? I don't see what I'm doing wrong. All right, hold on. So char option, I store the value. Okay, that's the main. Like that's the attack menu. Oh, I see what I'm doing wrong. I left this in. So I keep calling the, like I'm keep diving into the method over and over and over again. Dang it. Okay, yeah, that really confused me. Good thing I went back and looked at everything. If I didn't know any better, I probably would have been here for like hours and hours trying to figure that out. All right, so recompile, clear my screen, run, attack, return from the attack menu, go back into the attack menu, return back at attack menu. All right, so it's working. I'll go to the attack menu, I'll use a sword, I'll enter an invalid option. Can't get out until I actually hit R, and then I'm back at the main menu, right? That one, if I want to quit the game, I'll just hit Q to quit, okay? So the idea behind this, or what I was trying to tell you, is like the programs, as we go along through the semester, The programs that you write are going to be a little more complicated. So students normally get overwhelmed when they're making this really big method with a bunch of stuff in it. If you feel like you can do something in another method, like just move it, create another static method, and just like handle whatever it is you need to handle. Like all this could have been done again. Like I could have done this exact same thing if I would have just copied all of this, like everything inside of this method. I copied that and then slapped it in right here, right? But that would have made reading the main method like a little unmanageable, right? But here, I'm like, you see, like if you hit A for attack, it hops you back to the attack menu. All right, so the other thing I want to show you is this class can work just like other classes, where you can have class variables, where if I wanted to have my scanner be available for all the methods inside of this class, I could just declare it outside of the main method and inside of the class, right? So now it's going to work just the same. You won't be able to tell anything changed. Okay, and I'll compile, ping it, and it didn't work. Oh, sorry. It has to be static because these methods are static. So just name it static, come over here and compile and run. And it works just the same. Enter A, go in the attack menu, enter R, get out of the attack menu, go back in the attack menu, use my sword, use my boomerang, get out of the attack menu with R, use some magic, and I'll run this and quit the game, right? So both methods are using that scanner object. So some things to remember is even though I moved it up here, I had to slap on static because these methods are static, okay? Without static, Java thinks that you need to make an object of switch demo in order to reference this variable, right? So by making it static, I'm allowing static methods to access that data. Any questions on this? This is how you make like complex menus and stuff like that. Is you don't just type it all in one area, just kick them off to another method that will handle the sub menu of a menu. All right, so that's really all I have. That's it. You guys are free to go. I will stick around and grade any homework if you guys want to show me your homework. But other than that, I'll see you on Monday, and then on Monday we'll go ahead and start on Chapter 7. Chapter 7 is kind of boring in the beginning. It talks about like different jobs of development and stuff like that. I'm going to have you guys just read that on your own. I am going to test you on that though, so you have to read it on your own. But I'm going to hop into, I think interfaces is in Chapter 7, right? So that's where I'm going to start talking is interfaces, and then we're going to also talk about Chapter 5's array class. Yeah, that's what we'll do on Monday.
Is interfaces the same as that Java FX that I've seen in the book?
No, so an interface is like another way to, is it interfaces or is it enumerations? I can't remember what's in Chapter 7. I think it might be enumerations. But anyways, interfaces is like another way to say this class should have these methods. And then you implement that interface, and then you have to actually like override those methods.
Yeah, it's interfaces.
Okay.
And that's one of the other things that goes over is that static method that we just went over.
Oh, okay. I go over static methods with my Java 1 class. But I guess I'm going to have to go over it again a little bit.